I have to apologize for sensitive content here because nobody needs to see my unpedicured feet, but here we are. We are at Absolute Respiratory. Home care services is what they do as a different division, but it's all under the same umbrella. And they do home care, and we're being joined by Nurse Jessie, and Jessie's going to explain what's happening to my feet and why it's important to see a foot nurse.
Yes, definitely. So here at Absolute Respiratory and Absolute Home Care, on the home care side, we definitely focus on foot care nursing. So foot care nursing is important for a couple of reasons. A lot of clients that we see may have diabetes. They may have other things going on that puts them at a risk for infection. So when we're not keeping our toenails trimmed, we're not keeping an eye in between those toes, we can run the risk of developing wounds as well as having infections down on the feet.
My toes are in such bad shape right now. I'm embarrassed that people are seeing it like this.
Your toes are fine.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
They're supposed to grow.
They are supposed to grow, but it's been a hot minute since I've cut my toenails, so that's one of the things that you guys will do.
Yes, absolutely. So other things that we do, trim toenails, we cut down calluses, we help with any kind of like bunions or things like that, and then just monitoring feet, especially with people with diabetes.
Okay, and this is a service and comes right to your house?
Absolutely, yep. We come right into the home, and we do it right in the comfort of your own home. So.
And how do we know if we're eligible for this type of service?
Yeah, so what I would suggest is if you have any kind of health benefits insurance, to give them a call. There's a lot of different insurances that do cover in-home foot care, or you could even just give us a call and we could see if there was any
if we qualify.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Wow, I had no idea it was actually that simple, because if you think about it, when you're elderly and it's difficult for you to get out and it's, middle of winter, or,
Your eyes don't.
Yeah, your eyes aren't as good as they once were, or you've got vision issues. Like, this is such a wonderful service that you offer to people.
Yeah, and I think that is exactly why we do what we do. We do foot care nursing, we do in-home PSW care, and it's because there's absolutely no place like home.
Yeah, it's true. Okay, well, coming up, it's not only feet that they focus on. Sleep is a huge thing that we're going to be talking about, and how you can get a more restful night's sleep. Maybe you need a CPAP machine. We'll talk all about that coming up on Morning Live. Make sure you stay with us. Okay, I've put my shoes back on because nobody needs to see my feet any more than they have to, but we are now talking about the respiratory side of Absolute Respiratory, and it's all about sleep. Lindsay is joining us. Lindsay is the owner, operator of the business here. Why CPAPs?
So CPAP is if you have obstructive sleep apnea, so your airway collapses, you stop breathing as you hit deep sleep. What happens? You stop breathing, your brain wakes up, you wake up choking, gasping, and that cycles all night long if you have obstructive sleep apnea. So a CPAP is a continuous positive airway pressure device, and it acts like a pneumatic stent. So it keeps that airway open, keeps the soft tissue from collapsing, and then keeps you breathing, and that allows you to get into the deep sleep stages. So the REM and the stage 3-4, that's where you get your most restful sleep.
How do you know if you need a CPAP machine?
So the number one symptom is snoring, which most people know, but genetics is a big factor. So if you start looking at people in your family who have been diagnosed previously with sleep apnea, a lot of other things go with it. So uncontrolled high blood pressure, 7 out of 10 type 2 diabetics actually have sleep apnea. So there's a lot of kind of those general aging conditions too that we all get, things like heart conditions, history of stroke, or predisposition to strokes can all be indications that you should be tested for sleep apnea.
And then you go for a sleep study and they say, oh, you need a CPAP machine, and then people come to you.
That's exactly what happens.
Okay.
Yes. So, and a lot of people are really scared and intimidated because they think it's going to be loud or cumbersome or bulky. There's all these worries. It's going to keep my bed partner awake. So, I mean, machines are constantly getting quieter, smaller,
easier to use.
So,
this little guy. Like this is tiny.
It's super tiny.
And it's pretty. Like it looks like it almost belongs on your bedside
right?
table.
And so a lot of times they make it so that it, blends in with your aesthetic, maybe looks like a clock radio.
It does. It totally
something
looks
like that.
Oh, there's airplane mode.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Am I taking this on a flight?
So you can actually take it on a flight. It will use less power. And then also like people who go camping, they might use it for something like that. And so things like I've just grabbed a couple masks, but the masks are much smaller than they used to be. So if you pop that on.
My nose?
It just pops under your nose. So this one is really popular because it cradles under your nose. So I'm going to turn this on. So you can hear it's very quiet. The exhaust is very quiet as well. So that's something that a lot of time people's bed partners complain about is they don't want to feel like air coming out.
How do I breathe with it?
In and out through your nose. But there are other options. So, and again, traditionally people, they think it's going to be a big bulky mask. So a lot of people are able to just wear something nasal. But a lot of people, especially if they're on a higher pressure, or maybe they've had an injury or they've got deviated septum, chronic congestion, they may require a full face mask.
Okay.
So a lot of people like to, sorry about that, Emily.
That's
a lot
okay.
of people like to joke that it's going to look like Darth Vader.
Yeah, totally. That's the noise it makes.
So, but a full face mask now. So this is the newest full face mask. It's super soft, it's super squishy, and it's kind of neat because a lot of them now, instead of covering over your whole face, they sit under your nose. So there's nothing here to obstruct your view. A lot of them have like super easy clips like this, like magnets, and you've got lovely hair that I'm probably messing up.
That's okay. And then we just turn it on.
And then we just turn it on.
Okay, there is so much more coming up from Absolute Respiratory. Oh my God, I know you can hear me. Maybe you can't, but make sure you stay with us. Okay, so we've unplugged because we were running out of time. There's so many different masks for you to wear and for you to feel comfortable in here at Absolute Respiratory in beautiful Simcoe, Ontario. Lindsay's been joining us talking about the different masks for you, but now it's time to talk about cleaning them. So I've got my mask on. I've been wearing it for a couple of nights. How often do you need to clean it?
So you want to wipe your seal down every morning. So something that's really simple is we have CPAP cleaning wipes. They come out of the can just like a Lysol wipe.
I don't know how to take it off.
Oh, I'm sorry. There we go. So they come out of the can just like a Lysol wipe. You can wipe that down. So every day you'd clean that.
Okay.
Once a week you want to clean the whole mask. And the hose, warm soapy water in your bathroom sink, give it a good rinse, let it hang. But we do have things like this device. It's called a Lumen, and it uses a UV light.
Oh,
so you would just,
cool.
after you clean it, so it's not going to take the grime off your mask, but you can put your mask in there. You would press start. It's a 5-minute cycle. UV light. You can put your hose, the water chamber, the mask, anything in there. You can also put your cell phone in there or any other medical devices that fit in here.
Wow, and it totally sanitizes them.
It sanitizes them. It kills like 99% of viral and bacterial things. So in fact, during COVID, there were hospitals that were doing additional cleaning on small devices with things like this because UV light, we use it in plumbing and wells. We use it everywhere.
Everywhere.
It's safe, chemical free. It won't void any warranty. So there are chemical cleaners, but they void warranty. So this is totally safe. It's just literally a UV light.
So this is what you need to use then.
So this is an excellent option, especially if you're someone who is prone to getting sick or maybe you're immune compromised, things like that. It's an excellent thing.
Okay.
We do have some other related items, so things like a special pillow. So if you're a side sleeper, it's scooped out on each side.
That fits your mask and your little cord thing.
And there's a couple different styles. This one has that cooling gel that you see in a lot of pillows in the store.
Oh, that feels so good. I'm a huge pillow person.
Technically, it's actually even this one can travel, so it comes with a bag that it folds into.
Oh yeah, it sure does.
But it makes a great at-home pillow too. It's not just for travel.
Gift giving. Anyone's paying attention.
Yes, this is what I tell people. As we age, we need less stuff, but we need more practical stuff. So things like that make great gifts. These make great stocking stuffers. We even have things like anti-skid mats. So depending on your living situation, what your end table situation is like, a lot of people want an anti-skid mat. Maybe they have a cat that jumps up on the nightstand, tends to knock things. This just provides a little extra. And this one even has a little light in it. So if you do get up in the night to use the bathroom and you take your CPAP off, press the little light, it gives you a little bit of extra light, but
put
it's
it back on.
not super bright that it's going to keep everyone in the room up, but yeah, enough that you can get your mask back on a little easier.
I just can't get over how sleek this is. Like, this is like the
I've been doing this a long
redesigned.
time. They have come a long way
Yeah.
over time, and every time they make one, they bring a new one out, it gets smaller and quieter.
All right, well, coming up, oh boy, do we have a lot to talk about. We're going to be discussing everything that they do here at Absolute Respiratory, so make sure you stay with us. There's lots to come from Simcoe at Absolute Respiratory. Switching gears a little bit here at Absolute Respiratory, we're now talking about oxygen, and oxygen is used for people that have any kind of respiratory illness, respiratory disease, and you guys are part of that. You're part of the solution when it comes to that.
Yes, so a lot of times when people have chronic respiratory illness and as they age, so things like emphysema, chronic bronchitis, even chronic asthma as you age, pulmonary fibrosis, a lot of times people will need supplemental oxygen. They might get tested in an outpatient clinic, they might be discharged from the hospital, whatever the situation is. And so a lot of times we all have seen, especially on TV and movies, people lugging oxygen tanks behind them. So
Please tell me that is not what we're going to be doing today.
no. So that's the nice thing. So we're a little different here. We try really hard not to use tanks unless it's really absolutely medically necessary. So we use what's called a portable oxygen concentrator. It runs off of a battery, also has wall charger and car charger.
This is it?
This is
So
it.
this has replaced the big tank.
This replaces your big tank. You still have a
Wow.
stationary, a little larger unit for when you're at home, but
Yep.
when you're out and about, as long as you charge your battery or you have the ability to plug into the wall or to the car, you can work for hours and hours and hours. And they're fairly quiet. They're fairly light. I mean, compared to the weight of a tank.
You can just throw it over your shoulder and away you
over
go.
your shoulder. You pop it in your nose. They're super light. Did you want to try it on? So
Sure.
It kind of works a
I'll
little.
take some free oxygen.
Take some free oxygen. It's a little different than if you've been in the hospital and you have that constant flow. So how these work is when you take a breath, it gives you a pulse, and that's kind of how it maintains its battery life. It's called conservation or pulse dosing. And so we try to stick with these because it gives patients, they're a lot more likely to take this out and about than to lug a tank, or the safety concern. A lot of times people get very concerned that, well, if I'm driving alone, what if the tank rolls around?
Or who knows what can happen.
If it gets too hot in your car, a tank will automatically drain because they have a valve for the heat. So there's all kinds of risks. And our theory is that we would rather invest in something like this that means our patients are going to wear their oxygen when they're out and about than if they're not going to, then not wear it at all, right?
Yeah, it's true. And it was very comfortable and very light. Like, I really couldn't tell there was anything on my face.
Absolutely. And we try to use things like softer cannula. There's all different kinds of everything right out there. So we listen to our patients when they say, we really like this, it's really comfortable. Okay, great. Like, we'll stick with that. So there's a few different options, but I mean, this one does, the one you have there does a little lower settings, but even still, like, this one does higher settings, so someone whose flow is a little higher. But even still, it's not a whole lot heavier.
It's kind of like a purse.
It is kind of like a purse. Most of them, especially this size, come with a backpack. We do have cart options for people who, they like taking it, but they just can't carry a backpack or over there, or maybe they don't have a walker. We have cart options, or like you said, if you have a walker, a lot of people will stick it in their walker. So they're relatively quiet. I mean, they do make some noise because there's a mechanical sieve bed, but
nothing compared to what it could be.
The look of it, the feel of it, the safety of it, this is way safer than using a tank. And there are situations where you do have to use tanks, but overall, especially for our patients who are going to be on oxygen for years, this is a much better alternative. And that's the thing, like, a lot of people think that oxygen is a death sentence. Like, oh, I've got oxygen, I'm going to be dead in the next 6 months.
Right, it's not.
I have patients who've been on it for a decade. It's not. It's making that quality of life better. And extending that life, right? And then you're not feeling short of breath. You're keeping your oxygen levels up. Your total health is doing much better overall. So we like to invest in things like this. Our stationary units are smaller and quieter as well because, again, we want our patients to use it. It makes it better for their total health. It keeps them out of the hospital, keeps them out of emerge.
Amazing. Well, I can tell you just from being in your clinic for the short little while, I mean, yourself and the rest of your staff, your bedside manner is fantastic. You guys have been super kind to us, explaining how these things work, how easy they are to work. They're very, very user-friendly. Absolute Respiratory is a place that you need to check out if you find yourself or someone you love in need of any of these devices. How do people get a hold of you?
Internet, website, Facebook, phone, email, whatever. We take it all.
Okay.
However someone wants to reach us, we will get back to you.
Amazing. We'll also have all the website on our website at chch.com. Thanks so much for having us.
Thanks for coming.